Jesse Lee Peterson, but like kind of more authentic though. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm black, I'm proud to be black, but goddamn abortions and God and all that bullshit. I never had food stamps. Like you know what I mean? That's like the white supremacy talking points, but like from like a real person that went through that. That's why I never liked her. Like that's why. You feel me? Like she what she gonna do is that if you bring up reparations, she'll be on some shit like, oh, you know, no, the real problem is black people got to get married and stop killing our babies. And I'm like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like,
and when people say that, you need to take them back.
You don't stand for nothing to change the conditions in which, you know what I mean, the reason why we can't have stable families. We need money.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Everything always goes back to
money.
To
resources,
to our inflicted poverty, right? It all goes back to that. Like this one guy the other day was saying, yesterday he's trying to argue with me saying that race and economics have nothing to do with gun violence. It's all driven. No, has nothing to do.
Oh boy.
I forget what he was talking about, but he was saying that gun violence contributes to police shootings. More police shootings happen where there's a lot of gun violence. Has nothing to do with wealth or poverty. Okay, so what are the drivers for gun violence? He's like, what do you mean? What are the drivers for gun violence? That's what you're standing on, right? Right. So if you saying it's not wealth, it's not poverty, it's not race, whatever, you saying
what is it?
So what's the drivers for that? You're saying that's the main driver for police violence. Okay, so what are the drivers for gun violence? Which we all know was poverty. You know what I mean? Concentrated poverty, right?
Exactly.
And access to guns. That's it. And he kept going, well, that's not the point. It's just saying that she's not correct, but when she said something, I said, no. This is what you're standing on. Don't try to change the subject. You're standing on this. It always goes back to inflicted poverty for us. Always.
Yep.
All right, I'm sorry.
No, that's what it is.
On my soapbox again.
Oh hell no, you absolutely right, man. Like that's why I'm tired. That's why like people like her, man. She a problem to me, man. I don't see her as nothing. I see her. Maybe she can elevate the fact that she talk about ADOS, but I don't know, man. I see her as a real problem, man. I really don't.
It seems like a lot of conservatives are many conservatives are pro reparations.
They are. When I talk to white Trump supporters that don't have a problem with reparations, they only have a problem with reparations if you're going to try to give it to Africans and people who got here in the 80s and 90s. If you do it for the direct descendants of slavery, it bows better. If you do it the in Cobra Narc way, you got a problem.
Yeah, because
obviously.
They don't like race-based shit. We're in lineage. It's lineage-based, and we are a specific aggrieved group, and nobody can say we're not a soul.
That's why the argument is so there's no holes to the argument. That's the problem. Like they can't really argue it from their perspective. What we're dealing with is a bunch of delusional like leftists and like Democrats and centrists who just want to avoid the discussion altogether.
Because I think, and I wrote it in an article. What is it? The problem with reparations is that there is no argument against it. That's the biggest problem with reparations. Like Mud was saying, there is no problem. It is completely logical. It is completely, all the facts are in place. We know the data now, thanks to Tony and Yvette. Credit where credit is due. We know the data now. Darity has laid it all out for us in the book now. So there is no argument. The problem that the Democrats have specifically is that they're trying to cut us loose as a constituency and reaching out for the immigrant base.
But it's not going to work for them and that's the thing again, until they get a sensible immigration program.
Absolutely.
That's never going to happen because legal immigrants they did not come to this country to compete with people who will work for cheap and free.
Yeah.
So they do that for one generation. By the second generation, they don't want to do that shit no more. So they really not signing up for their kids to have to do it.
Yeah, and these are the realities, and the left is even worse, right? They're like, kick open all the borders. There should be no borders. And I had arguments.
Borders are artificial lines that
shit.
I said so we'll be the only ones that open borders, and the rest of the rest of the world is protecting their borders.
The whole rest of the world. Mexico still gonna be protecting their border.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be protecting their borders.
And I said that to somebody too. I said, listen, and you know what it is too, and this is because most Americans never leave the country, have never looked into leaving the country, and have never researched living as an expat in another country. I was looking at moving to Bali for over a year. Like, there's a bunch of rules that they have, and if you break their rules, they will revoke your visa, and they will not allow you to ever come back to their country, and they will push you out, and they may put you in jail first. They might lock you up for a little bit and then be like, okay, now we're gonna deport you. They don't play that shit. Like, you can't fucking go to Mexico right now and do that shit. This black dude tried to run to Canada and get asylum for all the reasons that Latinos come here, and they told him no. This like self-inflicted or some shit.
Yeah. And that's another thing. We got nowhere to go. Where the fuck we gonna run to?
Because nobody will take us. Because nobody will take us.
Right.
Exactly.
But that's also like a thing. Like, I think about, like, we can't even, like, a lot of us can't even get into fucking Canada because of our records and shit. So like, we're talking about, like, the U.S. is talking about open borders, and like the black community can barely go to the fucking closest like country to us.
We can't go to countries on the north or south of us. Exactly.
Yeah. Nobody wants us, right? So we got to fight where we are, and that's what we're doing. And people are mad that we're fighting because our backs are literally against the wall. Literally against the wall. We're facing genocide. To be real, the most powerful black ethnic community in the world. We got our backs against the wall, and nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to admit we're facing genocide. Nobody wants to admit we're facing the end. Right? They just want to just let it. The left, honestly, I believe they just want to just let it happen so they can put their bucket down with somebody else. Right?
And push the socialism thing.
Yeah, the whole socialism thing. Everybody's equal now. Whoa.
See, but even the way that they want to do socialism isn't going to be right? Because like if they were going to do socialism in a way that was really going to help everybody, but it's not. Even the programs that they pick for socialism don't shift the wealth gap. We already know it, and they don't shift it for the whites or the blacks or the Mexicans or the like free college doesn't shift the wealth gap. You know, we already know none of this shit's going to shift it, so they're not even bringing up stuff that's really going to make a difference. Even with like Medicare for all, yes, a lot of people end up going bankrupt because of medical bills, but a lot of people don't. So that's not even a thing that's like hitting like the major swath of people. Like, even when they talk about socialism, the programs that they talk about do not make a dent, period, for like most people. So it's like, why
they make middle class white people's lives more comfortable. That's what it does.
That's it.
Yep.
That's what it does.
But it's like,
solid
even when we talk about like the medical bill, if we talk about the medical bills, if you don't have no motherfucking money, you don't give a fuck how many bills they send to your house. All right. I went to the ER back in the day. All right. Just keep sending them.
Yeah, I ain't paying that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Real talk.
Yeah. So I think, because I remember having a discussion. We were talking about UBI, and I was talking reparations. The guy said, what would be better is the UBI plan. I said, okay, I'll cut you a deal. We as black people, we as descendants of slaves, get a 50% premium on top of UBI, and let's talk. He got mad. He got
mad. Of course his ass got mad.
Yeah, you got UBI. We suffer for 400 years, so we get a little extra on top of it. Everybody's happy, right?
And it shouldn't have been 50%. It should have been, we should get twice as much as you get.
Yeah, we should be. I cut the guy a break. I gave him a discount. You know what I mean?
He still wasn't with it. He was like, "Nope, I don't want to give you niggas shit." He was like, "I don't want to give you niggas nothing." Like,
and that's the thing. We're fighting against this racism that is deeply embedded in every American, not just white folks. Every American, until you learn, and that's what bothered me when they were going after what's her name, white fragility. That's what.
Oh yeah, Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah, Robin DiAngelo. That bothered me deeply, especially with fuck Kyle. If you do not, I mean, the country is constantly bombarding you with racist messages, whether you realize it or not. That's the atmosphere we're in. That's the water we as fish are sitting in, right? Is teeming with racism, and you may not even realize it. You have to interrogate it, because we're talking about changing lifelong behaviors. If you don't face it, interrogate it, and find strategies to change, it's not going to change. But this ignorant fuck doesn't want to talk about race because that undermines his whole lead them Negroes outside, as I wrote in another article. Lead them Negroes outside thing, especially us, specifically us. They want to leave us out of the whole discussion because once we start talking about race, we have to be placed as a paramount issue in the country.